Hey guys, it's Kyle. Well, July's nearly coming to an end, and I didn't manage to hit a vlog a day. I'm a little disappointed in myself, but I'm going to try to do better. At least I started vlogs, and at least I know that they're not as scary as I thought they would be. But anyway, we've got three really great specimens here, and they show different things, and I thought it'd be cool to talk about them. So, you know how women, a lot of times they'll get disorders associated with ovulation and like menstruation and reproduction, right? A lot of women suffer from endometriosis. Some people get polycystic ovary disease and other like ectopic pregnancies where eggs are fertilized outside the uterus are actually also pretty common. But anyway, other animals also have reproductive disorders, and in reptiles and birds, one of the most common things is egg binding. Egg binding is a sort of, it's like a colloquial term to refer to a situation where the animal has eggs and cannot lay them, and that's how most people use it. It has a different sort of use within the veterinary community, but in general, when something is egg bound, it means that the animal has eggs and it, for some reason, cannot lay them. And this is actually common not only in reptiles, but also in birds. And, you know, I've got parrots in my freezer that are egg bound. I've got, for people who raise chickens, this is a serious problem with laying chickens, where a lot of times they can't move eggs out. So, the technical term, so actually, like, generally, like, most people would refer to all three of these animals as egg-bound. Are they correct? Well, kind of, but not really, because they all have problems with eggs, but they're different, and they're on different sort of levels of problems. Professionally, we call egg binding dystocia. dystocia. And what dystocia is a situation where the eggs are fully formed and the animal is unable to lay them for various reasons. It could be weak, it could be dehydrated, there could be husbandry issues, there could be, it could not have an appropriate place to lay them, so on. But in dystocia, there are eggs and they're fully formed. This is dystocia. So, you see that when I did a stream on this, everybody referred to them as beans. They do look like beans, actually. I'm going to admit that now. But you can see that they look like beans because they're perfectly formed. They're all the same ovoid shape, and they actually have shells. And if you x-ray them, they all have this uniformity, and they all have shells. So these eggs are perfectly formed, but this chameleon could not lay them, and therefore she is egg-bound. She has dystocia. This chameleon here has something different. She's filled with not eggs, but follicles. If you compare her and her, you will see that these things right here are not fully formed. They're not of a uniform shape. They're just a bunch of random lumps connected to each other, and she's also got some up here. So these are actually not eggs, they're just yolks. She has a hormonal reproductive disorder where her yolk proteins are produced in the liver. Her liver keeps producing these yolks and doesn't know when to stop, and she just keeps accumulating these yolks down here. And they don't turn into eggs. The yolks are misshapen, and they're like, they're not, in many cases, they're not round. If you look closely, some of them are joined together. They form kind of just a chunk. There's no way she can lay this. And they're not even separated well to be laid. Colloquially, you would call this egg binding. A lot of keepers do, but this is actually called follicular stasis. Follicular referring to the follicle, stasis meaning stillness. So basically, she has a lot of misformed follicles here that her liver made. It doesn't know when to stop, and she can't move these out. So that's follicular stasis. This right here, this animal is in terrible shape, and you can see that, she's got like loose skin hanging off her tail is infected and chewed up. But you can't see any the organs in here. And in fact, you can't see anything at all. It's just some stuff. What is that stuff? It's yolk. So, this is a situation called yolk peritonitis or yolk coelomitis. And yolk, obviously meaning yolk, and peritonitis referring to the body, a infection of the body cavity. So what's happened is that she initially had this condition. She initially had a follicular stasis, and then the follicles burst, and now there's yolk everywhere in her body, and it's filling her body cavity. So inside there is a solid mass of solidified yolk. So this is a rather serious and deadly condition at this point, and in this situation, you would take, even if you took the animal to the vet, the prognosis is not very good because they would have to wash all of that out, and if it's solidified, it becomes very difficult to get all of it out. So anyway, these are. I just thought this is sort of a good series. This is basically like easy mode, medium, hard. Like this is a lot of times if you have egg binding like this, if you improve the conditions or if you give the animal some more calcium, it would be able to lay it, depending on what the situation is. You also, in classic egg binding, straight up egg binding, you also have better chances for surgery to remove the eggs. Your problems increase as you go down to a prognosis right here that's fairly bad. So anyway, that is reproductive disorders in reptiles, and sort of a difference between those terminologies. And yeah, so when you hear egg binding, it's not necessarily egg binding. It could also be these things. This is egg binding, follicular stasis, yolk peritonitis. This is